As someone who just come back to the dating scene after years, we're talking 10 years, I've realized that dating in this day and age is a completely different ballgame. Especially for someone who is a little bit older. I am turning 40 in the next couple of months and suddenly found myself being single again at this age after ending a 10 years marriage. I feel like dating now is kind of entering the world that I don't really fully recognize. And in this video, I want to share all the important lessons that I am learning so far in real time so that you don't have to waste your time, energy, and emotions to someone that may not be right for you. But before we get into the lessons and everything that I've learned, I have a little confession or admission to make. I unfortunately got myself in a situationship. If you're new here, my name is Poppy, and in this channel I document all of my journeys of reinvention and starting over, from getting into the best shape of my life at the age of 37 to quitting my corporate job, move country, and run a business at the age of 39. So I am a firm believer that it's not too late to be who you may have been, and if this is your vibe, then subscribe to follow along with my journey. And right off the bat, I want to make it clear that I don't particularly think that situationships or casual dating is wrong. If that's something that you're looking for, then kudos to you, but that was not what I was looking for, but I ended up getting myself into one. And although it was a very brief period of time, my situationship was a very brief period of time, I did learn a lot from that. And after a lot of reflection on what happened, first thing that I've learned was that the energy that you bring into the relationship is most likely going to be the energy that you get out of it, because that energy will set the tone and expectations throughout the rest of the relationship. When I got into my situationship, it was only a couple months after I walked away from my marriage, and I told myself that I didn't want anything serious, and because I told myself that, I acted accordingly. And because I acted accordingly, he treated me accordingly, which was fine at the beginning, but we are all humans, and as time progressed, I unfortunately developed feelings. I liked him a little bit more, and I did want more commitment from him, but he was more than happy to stay where we were, to give me the bare minimum. And it was such a weird experience for me because I was in a marriage for such a long time, and I actually, although I heard of the word situationships, I didn't really quite fully understand what it meant until I got into one. You know, like hanging out, but you don't call those dates. No real plan in advance. Everything is on their schedules. You know, all these good vibes, good chemistry, but zero directions. So just remember that the kind of energy that you bring in that relationship matters so much. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be 100% of the time, but most of the time, this is likely going to be the case. So before you get into any relationship, know what you want first and bring that energy into that relationship. I also learned that mutual attraction, although feels very special, it is actually not that rare. Now, let me explain. When we like someone and we know that that person likes us back, it feels so special and it feels so magical that in the back of our mind we think this is so rare, this is something that we need to keep. But the truth is, mutual attractions actually happens more often than we think, and it is actually not that rare at all. When I was deep in my situationship, I really was confused and I couldn't figure out why this didn't feel right, or why he didn't want me the same way that I wanted him, although we liked each other so much. Until one day I was listening to a podcast, and one of the guests was 𝘂𝘂𝘶, and he perfectly defined stages of relationship, and it was so eye-opening to me. The first stage of relationship is admiration, and that's when you start to admire someone. You know, you notice good traits or good qualities in them. The second stage is mutual attraction. It is when that person that you admire or you likes you back, and that is, although a very important step, it is only a stage 2 of relationship. Now, the next stage is commitment, which is huge and which is what is required for a relationship. Most men that I went out with or went on dates with, I could most of the time get to level 2 where I like them and they like me back. However, it was so hard to find someone, to get someone to commit to level 3. And it was just so frustrating because in my mind, I was thinking, okay, we laughed together, we had such a great time together, we had good chemistry. Why is it not progressing? We have something so special, but why is it not progressing? And it kind of makes sense, you know, sometimes people don't want to commit, and it is what is required to form a relationship. Level 2, just mutual attraction. I like you, you like me. That is not enough in itself. You need someone who shows that commitment. I can't tell you how many times I go on dates and then the guy will come to me and say, oh, I really like you, you know, you're amazing, but this is like so new, let's just see how things go. And without commitment, unfortunately, you're never going to form a relationship. So always remember that just because someone likes you, that doesn't mean that they want a relationship with you. And this mindset really helps me understand what I need to look for when I go out on dates, when I want to build a relationship with someone. The next one is also a very important lesson. You have to pay attention to alignments and not just words. You have to pay attention to their actions, what they do, rather than just listening to their words. You have to pay attention to how they make you feel, how they make your body feels when you're around them, whether you feel safe, anxious, secured, insecure. Pay attention to how they make your body feel. With my situationship, he would say things like, I like you so much, you're so important to me. And then he would disappear for like days, never texted back, never called, and if I texted him, it would take him like 24 hours, like 2 days to respond. And in my mind, I kept thinking, how can someone treat someone that is important to them this way? Until I realized that actually it is so easy to say those words, but it's much more difficult to align your actions with those words, and that's something that we need to pay attention to. When misalignments happen, at least for me, I find that it makes me feel insecure, confused, unsupported, and when I feel confusion, it is clear to me that something is off. And that's when I realized that this relationship wasn't going to go anywhere healthy and I needed to end it. And it wasn't easy, you know, because I just walked away from a 10 years marriage and having to break up with my situationship. At the time, I felt like I was going through 2 major breakups in a very short amount of time. But at the end of it, I am so glad that I made that decision, because I also realized that it is normal to feel some type of ways. When you walk away from any relationship or anybody, you will feel some type of ways, and you have to be okay with that feeling. You have to be okay with the feeling that you're not being chosen. I think it's fair to say that we are living in the world where it is more and more common for one person to date multiple people at the same time. And because of this, when you walk away from a relationship, situationship, flings, or whatever it is, you're going to have to deal with the feeling of not winning that person or not being chosen by that person. More often than not, it's not that we specifically want to be with this person, but it's more of a validation of being chosen that we want. At least that was the case for me. I wanted the story that, okay, he chose me out of everyone else. He saw something in me. I must be special. I must have done something right. But then I thought to myself, why would I even want to be chosen by someone who's not even showing up for me? By someone who's just giving me breadcrumbs and someone who just reached out to me when he's bored? Why would I want to chase someone who brings me more anxiety than peace? Being chosen is actually quite meaningless if the person who does the choosing doesn't know how to love you the way that you want to be loved. And most of the time, he doesn't even care to know how you want to be loved. Being chosen is meaningless if the person who does the choosing has no time for you, doesn't take you seriously. And therefore, you have to be okay with the feeling that you're not going to win this person over. You're not going to be chosen by this person, but then at the same time, you are actually the one who's doing the choosing, and you choose you over anyone else. So far, I find that I've been talking a lot about all the negative experience when it comes to dating. So I want to shift the focus a little bit to something more positive. That I have experienced, especially being a person online, that there is a lot of stigma about dating beyond the age of 30s. Ageism is alive and real, and I think this goes for men as well and women, but more so for women. People, especially on the internet, act and voice their strong opinion that for women, after you go past a certain age, no one wants you anymore. Your life basically ends. No one will want to date you. And that just has not been my experience. Yes, the pool of candidate at this age, I wouldn't say more or less or better or worse, but I would say it is different. And let me explain. When I was in my 20s, I was predominantly looking to date people right around the same age because that's how limited our life was back then when we were young. And most of people in our 20s were single. So it was easier to date someone at roughly right around the same age. And I would say kind of the same kind of true in my early 30s too. Now, almost in my 40s, a lot of people are already married, having children, but the pool of candidates have changed in a very unexpected ways. I have noticed, and speaking to some friends who are single at this age as well, we've been asked out by men in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s. We've been asked out by men without children, men with children, men who just got divorced and rebuilding their life. So I found that age actually matters less now, but what matters more is life path, life goals, and whether or not you're aligned in those areas. So I think we have to shift the focus on what looks good on paper to something more meaningful. The focus needs to be on values, emotional maturity, commitment, vision for the future, vision for life, how they want to be loved, and whether or not they are okay with the way that you want to be loved. And I think you will be surprised that a lot of times these things don't really correspond with age at all. I've gone out on dates with people in their 20s and they are looking for something more committed and more serious. They want to build a life together with someone. And I've also been on a date with someone who is in their mid-40s and they just don't want anything serious at all. They just want something casual because they are done with relationships. And of course, you will also find people in their 20s who want something casual and people in their 40s who want something more serious. All I'm saying is age doesn't really matter as much anymore, dating at this age, and therefore your pool of candidates will be different. I also want to give my personal take on dating someone from dating app or meeting them in real life, because I did join dating app for a very, very brief period of time. And I think what I can say is that when you're on an app, it's easier for you to find someone single on the apps because that's why they're on the app. But in real life, although you'll find someone with similar hobbies, interests, or lifestyle, it doesn't always mean that they are single and looking for a relationship. And I've tried both, but personally for me, I would say that I would still prefer meeting someone in real life, someone who shares similar interests, similar hobbies. And yes, there is that sense that they might not be single and it might take me a little bit longer to find someone, but I still much prefer meeting people that way. As of today, things may change in the future, I don't know. But I would say be open, maybe try both and see which one works better for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's just a short one to recap how my dating experience has been in these past couple of months, being single at almost 40, which I still can't believe when I say it. Like, it's just, I never planned for this to happen, but hey, if life gives you a lemon, makes lemonade, they say. I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are. I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.